and this is not the core thing. Okay. Anyways, so when you are doing this, right? So either you have to be considerate, you have to be really sure how many segments is proper for you to cut, and then make sure it's in quads. This is already tries, right? You don't want tries, okay? So when you want to do this, make sure that right, this is supposed to be half. So first thing you'll do is you will start to pick the ring, and then you will slice it. Okay, so as you can see here, this is not an ideal place for you to pick the ring and cut, because the midpoint is not going to be proper. Okay, the moment it's joined together, as in the sharp point here, right, it's tries, so it won't connect. You know what I mean? You have to manually cut. So you don't want to do that. Normally what you'll do is you pick the best option, which is where you can see here, this is a better option. Okay, now you have everything in middle, right? Your life is much more easier. And then you start dragging it to the middle, right in the middle here. And now you have to start cutting. You want to make quads? So this is approximately how you manage your mesh counts. Alright, so basically when you have this, the moment you cut your edges, your vertices is left out. Alright, what you have to do is you have to clean it up. It may lose your look for a rounded object. So what you can do is first you do the quads, and then basically both bottom and top, right? So I'm just going to do one part, just want to show you. I don't want to go back to the basics too much on the modeling, but just to show you guys how to make life easier. So let's say you have this, you connect, and then you start pulling it. So now you have evenly distributed your segments. Just look from here, the top part only. Alright, so if you can see now, it's evenly distributed, so you have quads. Alright, of course you want more, you can add more and blah blah blah, but at the same time, you first thing you have to remember is have a good quad. Alright, try to do everything in quads, and make sure that your topology is correct. I've got all your models class 1 to 4 already, most of them. Okay, so basically when you have that, what happens is I saw a lot of you guys use extreme polys, too much of segments. Some are really good, some are still in the beginning stage. Yes, I understand, but some who may have copied each other, okay, try to be smart and try to con me. So there's going to be a few tests on that. So anything you're going to download from the net, you're going to get 0. Alright, so don't try to be super smart with me. Okay, you can forget about getting a full mark for that. Alright. But anyways, that's up to you how you want to do it. Okay, basically auto grid here. What does auto grid does? Okay, basically auto grid is wherever you want to build your plane or any other objects. All right, you can just auto grid. You when you press auto grid, you just click on any objects. It follows the grid. Okay, so if it's an object by itself, maybe a wall, for instance, it will follow the wall. Okay, so this will it's sort of like snaps. All right. Okay, so when we have that out, you have to experiment on all this. Okay, because everything when we teach every single thing, it is going to be too much to understand. All right, too much to capture. So when you have, for instance, I hate to use autogrid, but I'm just showing you whether you want to use it or not use it. It's up to you. For instance, you have a wall, right? Actually, you can go to compound, not compound actually. Yeah, compound objects. Have you all tried compound objects yet? Better don't try. Don't. It sucks. I mean, it's nice when you do pro boolean and so forth, So this is how you do walls. AC extended is basically architectural stuff, right? So this these are really cool, but you know what this means? This means crash most of the time. Those days, okay? All right. So normally, if I render this, I get a tree, I get a wall, and nothing goes well. Just pure blank space. So when you have this, you start composition. Wow, big wall is happening outside. Okay, railings. If you uh, don't want to use all this so much, right? Try to be creative as possible. Alright. So, uh, guys, listening. Alright. So, when you have all this, normally we'll try to be as creative as possible. Okay. So if you have a box, so zoom in, and then what I'll do is I'll do a quick one. Okay. You guys can do better, of course. I'm not that great. See, this is what happens if you don't model it. Don't do it via wireframe mode. Sometimes you have to go back and forth so that you don't lose your don't wrongly select vertices outside. Alright. Of course, desktops are a lot more faster than this. Right. Depends on your laptop though. I mean your desktop though, your machines. You can use whatever. Nowadays things are very high end compared to what we have now. Right. So I'm just doing okay. Basically, what I'm doing here, I'm just doing a rough stone. Okay, just to get. So here, as you can see here, when you have meshes like that, that's a bad thing. Alright, so normally we'll try to adjust it. So the moment you have that sort of cuts, what happens to your image, your object by itself? Alright, your object will have flickers, one, and then we'll have your normals projection. So basically your texture projection will be seen as if it's a cut. Alright, it's like a folded texture at that particular space. You don't want to foresee all these kind of issues. Alright, so normally when you have that, make sure that you play well with your vertices. You have to adjust manually few things. Okay, so not everything, you guys are very lucky actually for whatever you're getting. The infos or mostly is like, well, okay, so let's say I have a silhouette of a stone. Of course this needs details, but you don't really have details. That's fine. First thing is when you're doing model, right, you have to understand how to compose it first, right, in a scene. If you're a background artist, if you're a character artist, is different. Okay, I'm just randomly doing the model so that the composition won't be blank all the way or really right. So for instance, you have this here. If you're modifying things and if you're copying, basically duplicating each and one object, make sure when you copy, if let's say you're doing for background scenes, especially when you're copying your stones and stuff like that, don't go and copy exactly the same position. You know what I mean? Have a little bit of sense of creativity, right? So you see, with simple things like this, just rotate this the other way, you get a different composition, different look. Understand? So if you go and do the same thing, okay, all the way, it's like, copy this. Let's say I copy about 5 boxes or 4 boxes, all the same. Super boring, right? So you don't want to have that kind of, that sort of composition. So composition is very important. That's why even this wall it sucks. So when you have all this, normally you start to check how does it look. Because this is super boring, don't see anything nice at all. So screen is a bit very small here. That's fine. Okay, so it started here. Anyways, you go to render setups. What's happening? Okay, you go down. Okay, now you go to render setups and all that. First thing, you check for your render, what sort of render you're using. You got iRay, you want really realistic, right? iRay and mental ray is basically two quite close, right? Both of them, the functionality is quite close, but iRay is much more expensive and longer time to render.